my karma, I think, is the same term for fate or destiny. This is purely a loose assignment asking those three questions about cybernetics. But I'm from engineer side. So I believe this slogan, without engineers, science is just philosophy. I tend to stay in an area of doing things instead of philosophy. First, a few backgrounds and assumptions or foundational questions. But my question is, how fast can you run? And the fastest person on this planet can run 100 meters at 9 seconds, 9.58 seconds. 3 seconds, near 4 seconds was achieved by a puma, not by human. So different people have different capacity of running, and how heavy can you lift is the same reason that this guy can lift 477 kilograms, but we cannot do that. So in the same spirit, in the same structure, I would ask, how complex a weak problem can you handle? And we all know that mathematicians can do much better than average person. So the point is that all humans might be created equal, but they grow by external force or by self-will differently. They grow differently. So as the result, their brain capacity or cognitive capability at a given time are different. They're never equal. And we need to acknowledge this fact. I'm following Elliot Jack's thought that he went to GW once, so as a guest professor. So I met him once and completely bought in his theory. So that's the background, and then we come to see this. If we acknowledge that was the fact, then this diagram shows just a regular normal distribution of the percentage of people falling in different sigma positions. So cyberneticians, I think, all falls on this 0.1% category. I think we need to realize that, because given the 6.6 billion people on this planet, and we have about 6 million scientists. So, and the cyberneticians handles even more complexity than regular scientists. So definitely we need to realize that unfortunately this area is our position in society. And we need to face all these people here who cannot understand what we are talking about. So that is bad news. So roughly, I have a 14 group classified here, and each has a percentage, basically half sigma as a group. And if we consider both IQ and EQ, we may have actual distribution like this. So in the category from left 7 to L1 to left 1 and right 1 to right 7, I have this roughly guessing types of social actors here. It definitely subject to debate and correction, but I just threw some initial idea here. So again, the scientists professors, a think tank community, so those people who can handle very complex wiki problem are actually here. But all the participants, I mean here, aim 0%, 0.1%. And we really need to communicate with the rest of the group. So that's the big challenge that I think ASC members forgot for a long time. So answering Lou's question, this is how I get engaged with this field. This gentleman named Chen Xuesen, I had a different video program about telling the story about him and interaction with me. He was, as you can see, a very high-profile scientist going back from United States into communist China. When I met him, he looks like this one. He looks like this, a very kind gentleman. And he was the person who mentioned to me that there is a guy named Norbert Wiener. The reason he mentioned that to me was because I was very stressed or worried about my eyesight. I'm extremely nearsighted in my age. So I was worrying that, well, I may have a very dim future. I cannot do a lot of things I want to do. And he laughed at me. He said, well, Norbert Wiener, his eyeglasses was as thick as a beer bottle bottom. So it's okay. He made a great contribution. So I was a college kid at that time. So I went back to dig out Wiener's book. And the one impressed me so much was Wiener's human use for human beings. So that was one line. And of course, this guy, Mr. Chen, he also promoted the idea for system engineering inside China. So I was among the first group of students getting in touch with the idea for system engineering. And the second story is this guy here. He was about 10 years older than me, but he was the intellectual leader of the so-called China's new generation. The way they introduced cybernetics into the Chinese society was that it was somehow linked with Marxism. Can you believe that? Because Marxist dialect is talking about imminent changes built in everything. So, well, since all the Western ideas are bad, were bad under the Chinese authority, but cybernetics might be a good thing because it's kind of a relative with Marxism. So that was how we were allowed to get in touch with the cybernetic ideas. And this guy, his name's Jin Guantao. He wrote a small book. Actually, he wrote an interesting article linking cybernetics with the Chinese medicine. Can you believe that? Because back to Lou's point, Chinese medicine is a completely nonsense in Western modern medicine point of view. But in a constructivist point of view, Chinese medicine is an effective, useful thinking framework that enabled the Chinese people to grow into such a large population. So anyway, he wrote Cybernetics and the Chinese Medicine, which was very surprising to my generation. So that's how I got, when I got a chance to study abroad, I searched all the available cyberneticians And I just found the two person. One is Kuripendorf, Klaus Kuripendorf in UPenn, and the other is Stuart Appleby in GW. So that's how I ended up being Stuart's visiting professor, visiting scholar in 1986. So that's a real story of the engagement by these two things. So generally my experience in the findings, from 85 to 86, I was involved in system dynamics modeling, and that was purely for the provincial planning economy model. So we did a huge model of more than 400 equations, trying to work out a solution in Stafford Beer's style in that failed Chilean project. And 87 to 89, I studied under Stuart, basically focused on applications in country development and China's reform process. And 1990 to 1995, focused on, that was my PhD program time. So focused on the second order cybernetics and the use of it on communication issues, because I think communicatics is a natural extension of cybernetics. If you shift your attention into second order, into human-to-human interaction, then communication is the #1 issue that, and also the most cost issue if we cannot do it right. And from 96 to 99, I did field work in using these ideas, in cybernetics ideas, in business and education projects. And from 2000 to 2009, I completely focused on using the cybernetic ideas in training, facilitation, and organizational change. That was our so-called Wingtop period. So after 2009, I have to escape from China the third time. And I focus on expanding the ideas of self-organization theory and expanding Ashby's law. So develop and gradually focused on the 4-dimensional system thinking framework and cultural gene theory and trying to understand more about the evolution of civilization. So that is my answer to those 3 questions. Point 1, cybernetics, or even we can call it a cyber science. I have a reason for doing that. It needs to be reinterpreted or re-represented for left 6 to right 6 category of people in that bell curve. And right 7 group can directly use it by themselves, but the population of it, of this group is very limited. It's just 0.1% on this planet. Okay, so currently 75 is a joke. It's the actual number of the member. It's a secret, I should tell you. It's the number of the members of American Society for Cybernetics, only 75. And among the 75, there are 12 lifetime members. I'm one of the 12. I'm proudly to say I'm one of the 12, but only 12. Okay, I don't know, Lou, if you are the permanent lifetime member, but I think you are. But we really needed to speak to the larger crowd, not just enjoy ourselves. Point 2, it would be better to change the name into cyber science, because those already familiar with science can just learn cyber part. They are using cyber org, cyberspace, cyber war, cyber this and cyber that. So we just need a little bit of explanation about the cyber part. I think we'll get more audience than using the term cybernetics. I'm sorry to Norbert Wiener, but that term is not catching up. So we need to find a better approach. Point 3, the most fundamental Lou asked is that the effective usefulness of cybernetics for me is it serves as an error detecting lens for me to see various types of errors in all kinds of systems, from a wrong position in driving lane, in driving my car, all the way to seeing the threats to our civilization. So specifically, it's like an X-ray machine for seeing these mechanisms. They have a different name: feedback, feed forward, feed up, feed down, and the feed self. So it's a good tool for me, number one. And number 2, last point, is for beyond me, the society, the group. The fundamental of cyber science is a service tool. Again, I'm an engineer, so I take everything as a tool. Service tool to improve communication or consensus building at all levels. If our cyberneticians dare to take on the wicked problem at Elon Musk's level. So that is my, okay, I have a last one. Forward-looking, the top priorities. I think cyber science or system thinking should become the 3rd level of rationality education. First level would be logic for primary schools. 2nd level should be critical thinking for middle schools. And it should become a common core course for all college education, in my opinion. But before this become possible, we must change ourselves, our perceptions, positions, and our methodologies. We must reach to the wider audience. I'm one of the only, saying this again, 12 ASC lifetime members, die hard. Among the current 75 regular members on the whole plan. So ASC should learn from ODN, ICF, and IAF. ODN is Organizational Development Network. They had at the similar age of ASC. ASC was born in 1964. ODN was born in 1968. They currently have 1,800 members, and they have a positive stream of students. Now, IAF is an international association for facilitators. They grew up from a field of psychology and anthropology, etc. They established on 1994, so they're much younger than us. But they currently have 3,000 more members. And they also have a positive stream of students. And ICF is the International Coach Federation. They explicitly working with human-to-human interaction areas. They were born in 1995. They currently have 33,645 members in a lot of countries, and they have a positive stream of students as well. We do not have a positive stream of students. It's not the fault of the society, it's our own fault. We must reform. We must stop this by revival Macy conferences. And that's why we are doing this little club here. Instead of writing papers with no readers, we need to find a way to get more students. We must develop effective, attractive, and useful curriculum for the K-12 schools, for the colleges, and for the graduate students before we all die out. That's all I have to say. Questions?
Thank you.
Let me stop sharing.